So welcome everyone to session 2AS, Vanilla Mainframe Agile. And please remember to do the feedback forms. So I'll hand it over to you, Leah. Off you go. Thank you.
Hi all, thank you for joining for this presentation. I really appreciate that you're all here. My name is Julian from my BA group. I work as a DevOps and Scrum Master in Mindframe organization for two big Scrum teams. I would like to talk a little bit about Agile in Mindframe development world and how to use all advantages methodology give us to make our life more vanilla. When I talk about vanilla Agile for Mindframe development, this idea breaks down on the rocks of reality. We'll talk with you about what frameworks are suitable for development in Mindframe area, what feature frameworks we use, who needs an Agile. A little talk about commitments and metrics, about change management. I'm also going to give you a few ideas and practices what I found useful for me personally. Maybe this presentation won't be so well structured. I'll mix it up here. I mean, jokes, best practices, many cases, etc. This session was not selected for share this year, and I have some time to collect. I had some time to collect some cases. Okay, let's get started. And if I'm not mistaken, that at least 7% of you heard about Agile and maybe thinking, working this way, right? And sure that now I'm going to waste my breath. Don't know why you join again, but thanks for joining. You're on this skeptics blue corner on this diagram. Usually through the experience, Mindframe engineers are skeptics about Agile. I'll try to be valuable for you. 20% of people who join such a session still do believe in possible vanilla Agile and do believe in hearing you in that direction. Thank you. I'm inspired by such people. So, and usually 5% of person on this session would like to learn more about Agile, and I'll do my best on that for you. 5% of people are walking by. Thank you. This will be better interesting for you. Then, so please find yourself and type for me in chat. Who are you on that presentation? And for the future presentation, I will correct this graph, right, to show more valuable statistic for other person. Let's start. So. I have to start shortly from some Agile basics. I know that all of you know many about ZOS, Mindframes, but several book words in case some people not familiar with. Don't worry, I'll not talk about story points and stuff like that. What Wikipedia told us in software development, for instance, Agile practices approach, discovering requirements and developing solutions through the collaborative effort of self-organizing and cross-functional team and their customers and end users. It advocates adaptive planning, evaluation or development, early delivery, and continual improvement, stuff like that. 4 values, 12 principles are documented in Agile Manifesto. That's it with theory for today. So I'll explain you how I got it. Agile is development methodology.
Julia, sorry to interrupt, but your audio has gone very mute and fuzzy. Could you go back to closer to the microphone like you were a few minutes ago?
Okay. So no, I think I just continue for now, but I see that people are still joining. Do you hear me, guys?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, good. So I'd like to continue. I'll explain for you how I got what Agile means. Agile is development methodology of value. Flexible methodology make us think more and more about the client and the value of what we do. For example, before we clearly received money for the work done or development. In fact, for the time spent. But after 2 years, it could turn out that your development, say 2 years work of large team, is no longer needed or almost no one needs it. This upsets both customers and engineers. The development company receives money for the actual work performed, but the people and the company are not satisfied. In Agile, we often communicate with the client, we synchronize the work we do, we communicate a lot with each other, clarify requirements, and decompose tasks. All this happens with only one goal: to give what someone needs in time. Deliver value to the customer when it still makes sense. That's my message. Okay. How Agile belong to the Mindframe development? Organizations that have Mindframes are not an exception. I always say it. Just like others, they need culture of automation and collaboration. All Mindframe vendors and IT organizations already build their life with an eye on Agile and DevOps. Mindframe is a modern computer technology mixed up with supporting application created in the previous century. Mindframe developers today have a possibility to work using the best engineering practices during their DOS code development. We can write Mindframe code using the most popular integrated development environments, IDE, right? For example, at IBA, we like IntelliJ IDE, and we develop such a plugin to play with Mindframe artifacts using IntelliJ IDE. It doesn't matter, but I would say that Mindframe world really closer to distributed world, at least for me. So currently, I think that question how Agile belongs to the Mindframe is not valid, because all development teams around the world accepted the transformation and agreed with its advantages. It's more like one personal choice, either to be an Agile organization or to keep the reputation of monolith, Mindframe organization, where the server part is a big black box or green box. Mindframe work plus Agile practices and distributed world plus Agile practices both can be blazed. Just believe that no matter what platform you are working on and what methodology and programming language you're writing, first, everyone screws up, and second, everyone has deadline. So both can be blazed. The graph on the left describes the entire value delivery process, and if you don't get something right in the Agile development process, go back to the diagram and think about whatever you missed, any important part. And let me just say that absolutely every time it should be adapted to each specific organization if you are not a unicorn from Netflix. Okay, our start is project planning, rare case in the development. We more and more work on some extensions to existing solution or work in support mode. But it's a way understand the scope, plan and estimate, define project goal, review. Key thing here is to understand the effort for the company team on this project. You could use sizing to mark the project like a small, extra small, medium, large, or extra large, or by other way. But before you start, you need to measure how visible, doable is this. I hardly recommend to do not start any project without above steps. At the very beginning of the project planning, you need to have right person. I mean, experienced product owner to trigger and properly plan and estimate the project. Mistakes at the beginning have very expensive cost. Of we covered one role, I think we should talk about roles a bit. Of course, depending on the framework, We will talk about them, about frameworks a bit later. Roles have different names or do not have names at all. But in general case, there is a product owner or product manager in some project. It's responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. He works with customers and stakeholders on the backlogs of tasks and defines the priorities for the team. Scrum Master, Scrum Leader, Team Lead, Iteration Manager, whatever you call them, person is responsible for promoting and supporting team process. Scrum Master do this by helping everyone understanding Agile theory, practices, rules, values, facilitate the ceremonies. He supports the releases, resolve internal team dependencies and external dependencies, of course, escalate, and help to quickly solve blockers. It's a mistake to believe that the Scrum Master is only in Scrum. Today, the Scrum Master is the leader of the development team in various Agile frameworks. Servant leader, of course, but there is. It's a bridge between the team, the product owner, and the stakeholders. When I became a Scrum Master, my friend told me that I'm a sticky director, but now everyone understands the importance of the role. Team member is a role from your development. It could be, it could be a developer, is that business analyst, DevOps, and a writer. Usually we have from 3 to 9 person in Agile team. That the team should be collocated and better which talk on one language. I would share just my experience from 2 of my Mindframe project, development plus support. At one team, we have people at 3 locations and talking on 3 languages in their usual life, 9 people in total. And idea of hell for the Scrum Master, to be honest. Another project, 6 person in 1 location, they could perform much more than 9 people if we measure, just because of comfortable work and quick communication in 1 time zone. So collocation is not just a recommendation. This is like must have. So back to roles, of course, stakeholders or customer person who give us ideas, requirements, pay for our work, give us feedback, and involved to the process of development. Next step is backlog planning. The team had this time because there are many meetings to understand the requirements, create stories, define criteria. Some people mistaken that it's hard time for product owner only. For me, backlog planning is a hard time for all persons in the process. My Mindframe devs had this time too. And next step is important one is sprint 0. Not all doing it, but it's necessary to design the UI and build an architecture, deal with infrastructure, recruit a team if it's needed, and give people some time to get acquainted. So a kind of preparation to quick start, not all doing it. And I know that many person even just smiling when hearing about Sprint 0, but it could be useful. So next one is release planning. And here, in fact, we define the roadmap. Here we put our estimated scope of work on the timeline. Again, dev team should be agreed on that. In our Mindframe reality, where often dev teams are contractors from third-party company, nobody asks, their developer's opinion. And we became in the situation when team doing something on what they never committed before. If it's your case, please remove Agile phrase from marketing landing page of your business. So the 13th slide of my presentation, and it's about sprints and their execution. Coincidence? Not really. Here we're doing something what we plan for a short period of time according to the roadmap and priorities. It's development time, complemented by daily communications and finding of something that we forgot to consider on planning. Always happens something with the plan. But ideally in Agile, after every sprint, you need to deliver something valuable. So please sit together and discuss on retro how to be better and better every time in the end of sprint. You can do not call it retro, just have coffee with the team and discuss what's going on. Several notes. First, if you sit on your problem more than 2 hours, please share problem with somebody. Second, I think in Mindframe development, better to have 3 or even 4 week sprints, because sometimes difficult to decompose high-level assembler development to small pieces and difficult to be able to develop something and test within 2 weeks. Please just don't call it Agile. Try to do sprint longer. Just try it. Fifth time, I like it. Agile is methodology where team has too many responsibilities. Team know how to build the product, how pick up the job of each other, able to estimate work, responsible for quality, etc. But let's do engineers time to do their job. Why is this situation ideal? Situation on the slide, because you do not see any managers in the middle during the iteration time. On the left side, you see the manager, product manager, decision maker. All of them must clearly define priority for the iteration and agree with the team on work which is going to be done during the iteration. Then you see on the right side, customer representative and some managers doing work exception. Now managers in the middle, there is just team magic. Team know and remember what they need to automate, test, and infrastructure, what they need to cover, at least small piece of tech debt during the iteration, and team know how many features they can develop in equality. It's team magic how to do stuff. So now managers in the middle, ideal situation, just output and input from managers, and let's keep team magic in the middle. Believe your team, that's how Agile works. Team is, in our reality, is self-organized. And last thought here is that Agile is about the strong engineering skills. If you have team of juniors or students, it will never work. All that I said above will never work. Just think about and know. 1 senior and 6 juniors around won't work too. Then you on your organization can't be fully agile. So all of these practices we've discussed on our diagram works only if people are skilled and self-organized. And so Agile is about strong engineering skills. I'll explain what for dev teams Agile give. And it gives a lot of privileges and benefits, and mistaken who think that Agile is for managers. So customers and stakeholders like Agile because they like to be involved, like to be a part of, like to have a thought that they control everything. It's like a game for them. CEO of organization reads a lot about highly performing modern Agile organizations with growing revenue. So he or she would like to be on the wave or flow of fashion and money with an Agile help. But for the development team, it's real opportunity to grow because you quickly learn from each other. You have enough conversation and discussions. As a developer, you will grow as T-shaped person because sometime you will need to test or to write docs to finish work planned by the team in sprint. Agile teaches us collective responsibility. Teach us the art of planning, which is so helpful in day-to-day life too. Teach us communicate with customers and be on the top of engineering practices. Because to be able to deliver rapidly and in high quality, engineers need to know culture of automation, be adaptive for the new tools and changes too. I think if you can work in agile organization, you are like ready for adult IT enterprise life. So agile is about engineers. Let's talk a bit about this slide when everybody is responsible for quality. I heard this phrase at ICP Agile testing course, and for the people who develop code for Mindframe and work on their project more than 20 years, it's a hot topic. I'll share a story. One of my developers on high-level assembler, he had 26 years of experience on that product. An architect, more or less, yes. He thinks that if QA person or is that did not catch the problem is not exist. For example, QA asks, please say us what's affected by your change, what to test. He answers, you are responsible for quality, you better know. QA asked, did you run your code at least on development environment? He replied, no, I'm an architect. Your responsibility to run my code everywhere you want. Even worse when he's in another country, another time zone, and does not want to provide steps how to reproduce customer issue, which is hot. You need to test it, and all we have in Jira case, just a dump. Or for example, when he knows that his change won't work with Chinese or Japan emulator display setup and do not tell it to you. We are one team, not really. Everybody, packaging team, DevOps, developers, test writer, all affects the final quality. Please don't leave it all for QA or SDES attention and responsibility. Everybody is responsible for quality. And now about some practicing. I know that your team practicing PDD. PDD is a panic-driven development. When something happened, Scrum Master write code, product owner testing code, test writer doing coffee for all. It's normal, help to each other. PDD is a cool practice and workable approach. Real case from life when being a Scrum Master, I set up like small special pipeline to quickly test code for SEV1. It was at night. It's how Agile team work when needed. So something for managers. To continue our fun mood, I need to say something for managers. All of you remember answer on question when it should be done, and right answer yesterday. And suddenly a new word in setting deadlines. No comments, just welcome for the idea. All right, because we all would learn something from every presentation. And I'm often asked about what's less or Kanban means asked about Agile frameworks. Let me explain all these words on the slide and put things in order. So XP or extreme programming, say 1-2 hours and load libraries somewhere in Brazil production. I'm joking. XP or extreme programming is about 12 practices like pair programming and collective code ownership. Of course, XP has special view on work and short 1-week iteration in the most cases. All who need it here from roles perspective, developers and customers. So everyone is a developer in the team. Some people think that it's quite stressful approach because customer right after the corner, customer much involved at all process. What we could as mainframers learn from it? I think collective ownership, as I know not many old school project and person from them following this rule. One person in many cases responsible for one model or feature, and nobody touch something there. It's deprecated by code owner. All team try to deliver feature, touch it in that component before him or her vacation, just try to find a way to do not be in this situation. What else? Extreme programming guides us to be tested in production. If somebody want to talk a bit more about, tell me, we can talk out of this session, long topic. Next one, the Scrum. All knows, I think, special ceremonies in right order, planning, grooming, review, sprint review, and in retro plus daily Scrums, story points estimation, and 2 weeks iteration. What we learn from it, that daily synchronization are important. Doesn't matter how you call it them, sync, daily Scrum, or stand-up, we just learn from Scrum that daily communication is important. What about Kanban? Kanban, one of the key ideas is Kanban is to refrain from production as surplus. Kanban achieve this by using Kanban cards and Kanban boards to visualize how resources move through the production cycle. You remember these nice boards. This gives everyone involved maximum insights into the process and help managers address shortages in real time. Idea is that we have limits in card count on the board. What we learn from it, as some mainframers too, it's important to understand the state of work and work in progress. Now we all say, this is my to-do. We learned it from Kanban, actually. Lean, it's highlighted in another color because it's software development methodology like Agile and not Agile framework. Also customer-oriented and focusing on decreasing waste. Many people mixing them up, so I decided to put it here and talk to clarify a bit. Lean manufacturing is a set of principles for achieving quality, speed, customer alignment. Same as we're trying to do with Agile development, right? Frequently associated with the Lean are the minimal viable product. We did not realize that it came from Lean, which is the version you release as soon as you can. I mean, minimal viable product. Often ahead of writing any documentation, failing fast, and building commitments, such as main architectural decision as late as possible, but we learn it from Lean. All on the right side, like Safe, Nexus, Scrum, Scale, Less, they all on the right side are scaled. When you have big organization and want to mix frameworks and scale them, you will use something from the right side. I would leave this for future presentations, I think. Okay, Mindframe world. The key difference between Kanban and Scrum is that Kanban is continuous, while Scrum is iterative. Kanban is better suited for the teams that have a lot of unplanned work coming up, support issues, emergency fixes, urgent feature requests during the sprint. This way, instead of waiting until the end of the sprint, the team can start working on items as they appear and reprioritize tasks on the fly. In Mindframe development, we often work in support mode. Means we can easily plan for 2 weeks iteration, something like Scrum do, because customer cases come in with unpredictable speed, so we can't plan properly. And we are doing cool features from the other hand, like new SPF interface, right? Cool feature in 2020, but we do them and we groom them, we estimate the story points, why not? So like 2 hands on this. And Kanban help us to track work. And when you work mostly on bugs or customer cases, it's about Kanban and more about our Mindframe reality. And mixing up those two features is a good idea called Scrumban. We have two Jira boards, for example, one for bugs and cases and tasks, and another for just stories, new features. Then play with both and enjoy the benefits of both. Time box commitments. So, and Scrumban planning. Planning is the most important thing in Agile. And I will share how I do in my Mindframe dev team the planning. We use time box commitments to reserve time we are doing to spend on something during the sprint. We start with the full line, team capacity. If you do not calculate it, please start doing it. You can't plan something if you do not know about vacations, etc., etc. So all work hours of every person during the sprint is 100%. It's your X. Blue line is our iteration too, and we will start our planning from the right to left, okay? Plan 10% less on the planning meeting just because stage debt or possible illness, meetings, and all of this. Summary of that from 1 to 3, we plan on working with customer cases, bugs, and spikes to handle all of this. There is our Kanban part. The rest of all this stuff is stories and our Scrum part. Some story points of features we plan to deliver. For some iteration here could be 0 in Scrum part because bugs or customer support became more important for your level 3 team. Also, please don't try to divide hours in story points to understand how many hours equal to one story point. It crashes the Scrum theory completely, and there is a discussion of separate session again. What advantages of doing it? First, every sprint we gather statistic, how many hours we really spent on bugs, on customer support, and we learn from it. Usually prediction is impossible, how many hours needed for this and this, but after some time, team learn using Jira reports to track everything and Jira boards, of course. We use some cool Jira gadgets to gather all this time and reporting from Jira. Problem that everybody needs accurately logged time in Jira. And it's hard from the beginning or first half of the year at least, then people do it without remind. Oh, just realize that some people think that Scrum Master is a person who helps all their developers to push right buttons in Jira. Partly true, but support all of this process, quite a big deal. Metrics is a big topic. We all usually measure something. What we usually measure, how many customer cases replied per month, count of save ones, how many save two in backlog, SLA graph, velocity measuring, test automation coverage, and release dates. I don't want to teach you how to build such a board. I would just say one note. Metrics are for the active team actions. Share all with the team all the time to improve. Metrics for managers just for actions in background. Managers, please do not come to the team and do not say, hey, this graph is going down. Then immediately team will manipulate with metrics and you will see what you want, but we need the truth, right? Just think about it. There is a story about we have a great Agile, we make beautiful, about the inadequacy of the requested metrics and how managers try and make boards and team tweak them. So again, Mindframe world, these new velocity requirements brought about by wider adoption of agile methodologies is becoming ubiquitous. According to Gartner, 50% of all current development projects are currently run in DevOps mode, and 90% of IT organizations are using those methodologies at scale, like Scrum at scale, etc. We are talking about the graph on the left, so we just see that organizations who are actively using Agile and DevOps are keep growing. Again, we are not talking about something vanilla, and on the right side, on the other hand, you see three main problems in Mindframe realities. And yeah, report from Gartner, you could trust it, just trust it. Looking into problems and ideas. So intrinsic slowness and long delivery timeframes. Rollout of new version is usually extremely slow in Mindframe development. The standard quarterly, not to say less in some cases, but yeah, quarterly. Update for the legacy system is not what you would call agile when compared with Amazon, for example, which delivers software upgrades in production each second of every day and 15 million updates per year. Idea here is just longer iteration. Again, as I said somewhere above, let Mindframe team decide on the iteration longevity. Months, who knows, maybe. Also, the problem is multi-tier testing and test flexibility. The setup of comfortable test environments require a Mindframe backend is always hard to obtain. Legacy computing resources are so expensive that a solid negotiation, often unsuccessful, is required for team involving the many components and Mindframe application. So I would just say that it's hard to sometimes even set up the test environment for some testing. And what is the idea here? Idea is just new features called zeros provisioning and self-services. It became possible with the container extensions and Ansible. And I know that some companies already built a solution to run their own ZOs for testing on demand using Ansible. I think it's Mindframe future, but for now, still, for many organizations, yeah, test flexibility and environment setup is really the problem. And maybe it's also the fact that we can't use, for example, Gmeter to simulate the thousands of users for Mindframe environments. And it's also the point about adoptions, some cool tools for the Mindframe environments. But yeah, as a start point, just start thinking about COS provisioning and self-services. It became possible, I think, this year or a year before. Some company already did it. And finally, yeah, many Mindframe engineers hate Agile world. Stop telling them it. Really, if you would plan something or groom or improve something based on customer feedback, do not refer every time to Agile. People don't like to join to new religion. Don't force it on them. Try to use the best practices that are right for you from Agile, and do not try to impose engineer Agile as a religion. Okay, next interesting topic. Want to change something does not work, change management. I'll give you just several notes. First, fail something. It's not working using the regular process and just works because of your enthusiasm. Then highlight the problem. You can't show the problem to somebody while something doesn't fail. Nobody will take care on something without real fails. Propose the change. After the failure, of course, receive an agreement on the change you proposed, then just do it. That's how change management works, but many people not aware of, and I share with you these short notes. If you are not sleeping yet, several slides to share Agile state report with you. Scrum and related variants continue to be the most common Agile methodologies used by respondents of that organization. I've mentioned here this organization state of Agile, and you see that everything I explained to you, Scrum, Kanban, XP are more frequently used frameworks here. Where is my next slide? Okay, it's here. You know, this slide about engineering practices employed, and you know how many efforts spent Mindframe organizations today to be able to do unit testing for the languages. How many people invest in coding standards? That's first and second point here. For example, we at IBA Group would make our community around Mindframe more agile, preparing also global repository for Mindframe developers, where we collect useful ZOs, commands, and scenarios just for ourselves, and aggregated some data to do our development in more standardized mode, right? But all engineering practices from this slide help us to achieve benefits for the next one. Which practices we are using as a Mindframe organization? As I said, unit testing, not really, because everyone wants, but no one can, yeah. Coding standards, yeah, we do. Continuous integration as a DevOps engineer on Mindframe, I would say yes, but not 100%. In reality, depends on product specific, where it's stored, are using, for example, Rocket or Stellium still, stuff like that. I would say it's possible at least, but not for all, not 100%. Automated acceptance testing. I'm happy that too many test frameworks and platforms around Mindframe growing every day, such as Galasa or Visa test platform. Pair programming, what I have comment here. Oh, yeah, that's good practice and so effective, especially if you prepare it to the session and both engineers came to the pair programming with two different algorithms in their mind. Pair programming is effective, especially as in my team, we coded on high-level assembler, as I mentioned, and we could easily crash something like LPARS and doing like oops. So yeah, pair programming can help us a bit. And using those practices, I'm not going to cover all of these, but if you would please ping me after the presentation. And yeah, it could give us, of course, some benefits of adoption to the Agile. We continue to see many benefits realized by companies adopting Agile. The theme of the top 5 reported benefits is speed and adaptability. And together with visibility, of course, and ability to manage changing priorities. But I think this all applies just for Agile. I explained to you, which is adapted for your organization. And it's not like vanilla Scrum or vanilla Kanban. It's like about something you adapted for you and you selected those best practices for you, and then you will achieve those benefits, of course. Why do we talk about Agile today on this Mindframe conference? Because it's everywhere. I'll share with you several interesting metrics again, and what's the trending. So the first, culture is still a thing. We can't adopt Agile for Mindframe organizations because the people's mindset, and really the problem here is just old culture is still a thing. Also, what's the trending that, as we discussed, Scrum and Scale Scrum now on the trends, and many organizations around the world, Mindframe organizations too, using Scrum for their daily work. And yeah, that Agile empowers adaptability and visibility, of course. All stuff we talk today is about adaptability and visibility, and it's just the truth from State of Agile report, so you could refer if you don't believe me. And if you correctly understood my story, my personal story, I'm also part of DevOps Squad. We have a DevOps Squad. This is an adoption in our organization as IBA to current realities. We know that in vanilla Agile, DevOps, an engineer must be a part of Agile team, but we decided to single out a dedicated team of DevOps engineers in our organization for all applications related to the Mindframe. As a DevOps engineers, we have our own backlog and product owner who is responsible and like our delivery manager, I would say, inside of the company. And he's interested in rapid customer satisfaction and quality of code we promote to production. Yeah, DevOps engineers also have the code which have to be promoted to our production. It's another production, but anyway. So how it looks like, we have 1 month iteration. We found that it's suitable for our team. And also it's most likely Kanban too, as we got inside of our application development team. We track bugs of processes via Kanban and plan our feature iteration using the Scrum board. You remember Agile Manifesto in phrase, working software over comprehensive documentation. So for our team, it has the same importance. I can explain. We prepared user guide for each of our feature usage. We explain everything. For test automation framework, it's even more than 60 slides. We create wiki, provide education sessions and workshops. Why it's important? Because in case of stop of the deployment or failing some code review, team members came to us and asked an advice. And because we support many teams, more than 17, I think, yeah, it's quite difficult to reply them all. And yeah, only one way is to create clear documentation. Actually, we received from one of our team to request to add AI inside of our pipeline to check what is developer tried to do. But yeah, so in our case, without documentation, we need additional team to support. But the real picture here again, I would highlight that as a DevOps team, we had our own backlog. We support all related teams with their infrastructure. We prepared common frameworks for automation, set up everything for them, and they all worked in adapted, like vanilla reality, right? Because everything documented and set up for them, and we do not have DevOps engineer inside of every team. And yeah, Agile is about new features usually, and team might be in the Django game situation when sufficient stability from below, we pull out the cube and put the new one on the top. And our building fails then. Do it just vice versa. Do less features from the top and put more cubes on the bottom to your stability. invest in your stability. That's what I would say in the end. I hope it was useful time for you, and I reserve some time for questions, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia. There is an interesting amount of chat in the window around experiences around Agile and its implementation within organizations. So well done on generating plenty of conversation. And I would reiterate that if anyone has any direct questions for the speaker, then please type them in the window. We'll take them.
I'm just reading some points from the chat. Actually, nobody replied about yourself, who is like skeptic or like doing Agile, but I see a lot of feedbacks on how people doing something.
Yeah, and they loved your Marcus Davidge loved your panic-driven development.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 8 minutes until the end. Yulia, do you have one more slide that has the feedback?
Oh, sure.
Because that's really important. Thank you. So session 2AS, if there's anybody needs to.
Maybe some live question to me. I covered a lot of theory, I think, and a lot of hints and tips. But don't hesitate to ask me on LinkedIn or any in my mailbox. Yeah, I'll try to discuss some interesting topics. As I promised, we could talk a bit about testing and production, of course, more about Agile frameworks, for example, and yeah, on Agile, on the Mindframe, of course, in general. Okay, now live questions, I think.
Okay, and I'd like to thank Mark for his observations as well. So it's all good. If any, one more minute for anyone to enter questions for our speaker.
Yeah, the presentation was uploaded to that session. You could download and maybe it will help.
Oh, fantastic.
And
the recordings will be available in a few weeks on the GSE YouTube channel, I believe.
Good.
Right, well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for our wonderful speaker, and enjoy the rest of the GSE. Speak soon. Bye.
Thank you.